Hello, today we're talking about prioritizing video games and how the way you interact with them determines the degree to which you have a good experience. And one thing I've realized is that I have less fun with games in the recent past than I recall I used to when I was younger, when I was a teenager, first experiencing them. And the easy go to, the temptation is to say, well, I don't like video games as much now as I used to because the games that they make today aren't as special as the ones that existed before. Or maybe it's to say that I have changed in some way and I just don't like games the way I used to. And it's actually not really either of those two things. Because the truth is, we live in a time when, for the computer gaming crowd, there's more amazing titles that are accessible and available than ever before. And to say that we used to have imagination when we were children and we just don't have the ability to be amazed or emotionally compelled by something today, that undersells us as individuals quite a bit. And it's just not true because there's people of all ages that have a absolute amazing experience immersing themselves in things which compel their imagination and transport them to a different place, whether that's a video game or a book or a movie. So, what is it then? And what it really is, I've realized, is it's the attention span factor. We have got so much abundance, we don't ever want to stick with anything. So, you get a game, you check it out for a minute, it's so cool, and then 20 minutes later, you're kind of on to the next thing, looking for something else. And then there's another thing that looks cool, and you give that a little bit of a try, and it's great until suddenly, again, you've lost interest. And you never really give anything the opportunity to take root. Now, conversely, there's definitely something to be said for people who take it too far in the other direction, playing games that they don't even enjoy because they're trying to convince themselves that they're having fun. And I think a lot of people in the MMO crowd are guilty of this one. Because if you put hundreds of hours into a game and you're not really enjoying the experience, but you don't want to quit and you don't want to acknowledge that you're not having fun, you're not really doing yourself any favors. So that leads me to two distinct points that I think are both connected, related to each other, and important. The first one is make sure that you are present in what you're doing so that you have the capacity to be entertained and amazed and transported to another place. Avoid that temptation to always be distracted, never fully present in anything that you're doing. It is sort of like the difference between watching a TV show that's just sort of playing in the background and sitting down in a movie theater with your snacks and your popcorn and really watching that movie and truly enjoying the experience from beginning to end. One is going to be a truly memorable experience. The other one is just noise in the background. And noise gets tiresome. So try to avoid noise and replace the noise with a true experience. But the other part is invest in things that have a beginning and a middle and an end. Things that you can work on, perhaps endlessly, but there's also a point where you can say, I finished that content, I've gotten to the end. We loved things like Star Wars and The Lord of the Rings, these amazing movie trilogies, because they were long, they were engrossing, they took us to places we hadn't ever imagined before. And then we felt sad when those journeys came to an end because we didn't want to leave. And yet, that's what made them special. There was a beginning and a middle and an end. And for me, having gotten into MMOs over the last couple of years, I've found them to be a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Because MMOs don't have a beginning and a middle and an end. They just go on sort of forever. And they get stale and they get old and they stop being fun. But more importantly, they become a perpetual distraction that prevents you from being able to experience other things. Because if you have to log in and you have to do your dailies and you have to go do some kind of rating or try to level up your character or something like that, whatever it is, well, that gets the first big slice out of your entertainment and gaming time. You don't have the ability then to just say, well, what do I want to play? Because you have your game that's basically a job and that comes first, and then you wind up not really doing any of the other things because you spent so much time in your game job that you never had any time for the fun stuff. And what is the point of gaming if you're not really having fun? It doesn't matter whether you think you should be having fun. That's like saying, well, I have a job that I hate and I dread going to work every day, but it's supposed to be a great job because I always used to believe it was, I used to believe that this would be a great thing. If I could have this job, it was going to be my dream job. Well, that's great. Doesn't change the fact, though, that you're not having fun. You're not having a good experience. You're not getting the value out of it. That's why I like Albion Online, because it's simple enough that I don't feel that way about the game. Because if I just log in for 10 minutes and I don't log in at all some days, I don't feel like I'm losing anything. Because there's no objective in the game other than to pretty much just do whatever you choose to do. But most MMOs are very time sinky. They're the kind of experience that wants to be the only game that you're playing. And then what about all those amazing games that I've had on the shelf? Like I was thinking about Stellaris, for example. And right now I'm trying to work my way through Anno 1800, and Surviving Mars is a game I want to give a try. And then there's other games like uh, Crusader Kings 3 looks like an amazing experience to immerse yourself in. There's just so many of these games out there that I've looked at and I've thought, oh man, that's really cool. But then when you combine the short attention span of never really committing to it to actually see it through past the first few minutes or first few hours, when you combine that with other things that take up far more time than is appropriate, then that's what creates this sense of gaming not really being fun and rewarding. Because on one hand, we don't commit enough to things, and then on the other hand, we give so much to just one thing, expecting it to be a one all, end all, be all kind of a thing, that we don't really leave space and room to enjoy a multitude of other diverse things which could add value to our experience. So if I was going to close with anything, it would be these two things. Don't commit so heavily to one thing that you don't have time or space for anything else. And then also be present in what you're doing so that you give it a chance to give you a true harvest of reward, as opposed to kind of giving up and moving on and losing interest before you have a chance to really immerse yourself. And then finally, I'll close with one extra thought, because I do realize that this is helpful for me. And that is, don't spend too long in one particular play session doing um, doing any one particular game. Like 40 minutes or an hour or something is enough time to sit down, start to get involved in what you're doing, be immersed in it, be interested in it, and then you can hit save and you can come back to it tomorrow or later on or whatever. And you don't have to do 4 hours all at a pop. And it's very relevant, because I think if you always sort of you turn it off when you still are craving more, then you never get to the point where you feel like you're just mindlessly grinding along. You're not enjoying it, you're not thinking about it, you're just sort of continuing on, like that endless bag of popcorn or something that you're eating, and you're not even really eating it because you want it anymore. You're just eating it because it's there, and you're almost gratified whenever you get to the end of the bag, because you're like, shoot, I just am tired of eating this, but I need to complete the bag. Because it's kind of like that sometimes, I think, with games or really anything that we're doing. We can get so I guess stuck in the loop of just doing it that we're not really being mindful about what we're doing. And if that's the case, you're better off just to maybe not do tiny chunks to where you don't want to be quitting before you even begin, but you also want to give yourself enough space to do other things, that you're not feeling like you're becoming a slave to something that's supposed to be giving you a sense of wonder and joy. And somebody said something about how the internet has changed with smartphones and all those other things that have changed over the last few years. And they said, it used to be that you'd go on the internet and it was fun and it was a way to escape reality. And now it feels more like we have replaced reality with that online experience, and that's part of why it's not fun too. And I believe there is some truth in that. When you stop using something as a tool for enjoyment and progress, and you become basically used by the tool and you're a slave to it, that's when it stops being fun and it stops being what it was designed to be. So don't let that happen. Don't let that happen in life. Don't let that happen with a game. Don't let that happen with anything. But certainly when it comes to our routines with gaming, I think that there's a lot of parallels between life and gaming, and there's a lot of lessons to be learned from from that could be applied in probably to gaming and to a lot of other things in life, like other hobbies and jobs and interests and relationships and things like that. Till next time, thank you very much for watching.